WICG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. A Town Square Media Station.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we screamed to center and you playing fullback up there. And I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. But you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to resist it, and I run back so couldn't take it. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
You guys are hot, right?
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9. It's a wild card Wednesday, and we have X's and O's, Xavier Houston, joining us today for the entirety of the show. So looking forward to a great show. Want to remind you that this is the day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you back on. It's been a few days. So hopefully you have been keeping up with what's going on in the Crimson Tide world. We have not spoken since the news broke about Doug Marrone and Bill O'Brien being out. Of course, part of that equation has been answered. Bill O'Brien being reported back at practice. When you heard that, do they give you any pause or concern for this Alabama versus Cincy game?
No, it doesn't at all. Bill O'Brien, we've had our opinions about play calling, but down the stretch, it did improve. Had a little issues with the O-line against Auburn, but no, definitely think he needs to be here because you don't want another situation like replacing Kiffin for the national championship in 2016.
Yeah, that was definitely a situation where a young quarterback ended up with a good offensive coordinator, but a totally different game plan, I think, in terms of what we did. And then on top of that, we lost Bo Scarborough, which changed the game plan even more. But Bill O'Brien back, and I think people are fairly excited. Doug Marrone back, and I don't know if people care one way or the other because Joe Pendry was taking care of the O-line. So not sure that the Bama fans are excited about him being back or not. Considering rumors that Joe jumped in and helped out with the game planning for the Georgia game, which if he's been there all year, he should have been helping all year. But anyway, but hey, just excitement about this particular game. A lot of questions out there in terms of what's going to happen. We'll dig into the game here in just a moment. Also, a big day for Alabama basketball as they get things going. So we'll talk about that and then come back to football because if we don't, we won't get to the basketball conversation. And then, of course, want to find out. We'll get some audio from Nick and Pete and others this morning. But let's talk about Bama hoops. Bama hoops, 2 weeks ago, literally potentially on top of the world, top 10 team 3 weeks ago, having beat Gonzaga. So, I mean, you couldn't go much higher. But the 4 games since that big victory, either have shown a talent weakness or an effort weakness, and I'm not sure which one it is. When you watch Alabama hoops, their defense just hasn't been there. Poor offensive rebounding against Houston, poor pick and roll defense against Memphis, and then struggle on both ends against Jacksonville, and just was a better, more talented team than Jacksonville. And that's how they got that win. And then, of course, Davidson upsetting them with, off of not just poor free throw shooting, but clutch free throw shooting down the stretch, and lack of defensive effort. And so you have to ask yourself, what's behind that? Is it talent? Is it effort? Is it a combination? Or is it just a word that you just can't get until you get it? And that's experience.
I think it's a little bit of everything. This team is young in some areas. There's still a continuity that has to be built, but you can't have bad shooting along with bad effort or bad defense, which is what Alabama's had a couple times. Now the thing about it is Memphis, Houston, Davidson are all going to be tournament teams. So maybe it's a little good to struggle with these teams now, even lose, because that way you don't take these types of teams for granted once you get there. Because if Alabama plays this brand of basketball, there's no doubt that they'll be in the tournament. It's just learning from these lessons early that you can correct. That's the beautiful thing about basketball compared to football. You don't have to win every week.
Yeah,
you just have to win enough.
Yeah, and that's true. With basketball, you can learn. And as Nick Saban says, don't waste a failure. Nate Oates was quick to say after the Davidson game, we have got to get back to Bama basketball. And I love the fact that there is a brand of Bama basketball that we can identify, that we can win with. And this team, I think it comes down to experience and leadership. And what I mean by that is I think the poor defense comes from lack of experience, and lack of leadership and understanding. They climbed a mountain. They hunted down Gonzaga. They were hungry. They were externally motivated. They knew that if they got the win, it meant a lot. But after that, it's almost, like what have you heard Nick Saban saying out there? You wonder sometimes, will Cincy be ready to play? Because Cincy's goal has been to what? Get to the playoffs. Alabama goal isn't to get to the playoffs. Alabama won't be remembered for getting to the playoffs. Cincy will be remembered for, hey, we got there. We were the first group of 5. We arrived. We did it. And sometimes I feel like that's what Alabama basketball did when they beat Gonzaga. And then after that, they kind of lost their mojo, their go get them. And that showed up, first of all, against Houston. And then subsequent games, it's shown up in other ways as well.
Yeah, like you said, experience, the we made it mentality can be a negative, but the older guys on this team, the Quinterleys, the Shacklefords, have to step up and say, hey, we've had a couple bad spots, but let's right this ship. Let's finish this year strong as they start SEC play today.
Yeah, and they start that against a Tennessee team, and what a difference a week or so makes. Tennessee now the higher ranked team at number 14. Showdown between top recruits from last year's class for Alabama and Tennessee. Tennessee has a couple guys that can hurt us inside, but they also can hurt you outside. It's not that physical. A couple years ago, I called it. They had 2 tight ends playing, at least 2 tight ends playing for Tennessee, and they were a physical team. But this Alabama team, I think, finds itself in terms of what they need to do against Tennessee. And, what things do you see? And I'll give you my thoughts on what they need to work on for this game if they're going to get the victory.
Definitely working on rebounds. The boards have been a big struggle the last few games, and it shows. That's why these teams are able to get second chance points and dominate the ball. But that and free throw shooting, I think if they clean up those two areas, they're fine. They're still shooting okay. If one guy has a bad night, there's been other guys to step up, but rebounding and free throw shooting, you're not going to win games if you're not successful in those two areas.
Yeah, and I think that when you look at what's happening in terms of this particular team, then Alabama, without a doubt, being at home is going to help. C.J. Watson reminding us that in basketball, home court always has a big role. Even though Alabama, I think, sometime of all the major programs, probably has the worst home court feel as far as their fans, but they're working on it. They're better, and the fans are better. But I say two areas, and then we'll get to break. Two areas that they have got to work on is when the drive and kick. I think we have got stagnant in our creativity there, and Quinterly just. It's almost like, remember what we were talking about with Bryce Young, where we were like, run the ball, just stop. Okay, you're gonna pass it. We get it. We know you don't want to run it, but if they give it to you, take it. And I think Quinterly has in recent games has been trying to kick it out when several times he could have left it at the rim. And I think if he pushes that aspect, and not just him, other guys, but especially him, then him finishing at the rim will open those lanes back up because guys will start to come in to get that rebound because he's not passing it, he's finishing, which will open up the drive and kick lanes. I also think we have to get some creativity and move guys. I think, just like a wide receiver when it runs a corner route, if you watch Alabama on film, you know that the corner route cuts at 9 yards and ends up at a depth of 15 yards, however you run it. Well, I think we have become stagnant in where our guys are, setting up for that driving kick. Need to change that. And then just, it's easy to say and it's easy to correct because it's an effort thing, and that's our defense. Defense has to pick it up. If we're going to win. And if things start off bad, the leadership experience aspect of it has to come out. This team, I think, will be ready to play because they have been ready to play against all the big teams. Except for Houston, and I think that was a jet lag from Gonzaga. But I think, to me, it's going to be those teams that they're supposed to beat that's going to jump up and bite them. I think they'll be ready to play against the likes of Tennessee, and maybe they'll feel that way against all their SEC opponents this year. Any closing thoughts before we get to break here?
No, I agree with everything that you said, that it's just no stagnation, no, like I said, improved rebound, improving free throw shooting. And this team has the talent. It's just about putting it together.
Yeah, and of course, we know that Nate Oates' defense is the catalyst for Nate Oates' great offense. So, so you get 2 for 1 if you get the defensive effort back. You get some run out layups, dunks, as well as pull up threes. So I think the Tide wins tonight. I don't normally give a prediction, but I think they win a close one against Tennessee at home. All right, coming back on the other side, we will continue the conversation right here on the Martin Houston Show. I got X's and O's, Xavier Houston. Want to remind you that we got a great special coming up on Friday. We got a great special coming up as we'll be kicking off things at 7 o'clock. I will not be live at 6. 7 to 9:30, there'll be the Martin Houston Show special. I have X's and O's, Xavier Houston, and others, and we'll be revealing who some of those guests will be right here on Tide 100.9. And we'll give you the other details of what's happening that entire day. You want to be on this station, Tide 100.9.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we have an incident on McFarland eastbound between the interstate and Skyland is blocked in the right turn lane, so please use caution. Wet roadways, just slow down and be careful. If you see conditions, give us a call. As we approach a new year, now's the perfect time to visit your hometown dealer, Townsend Nissan, for a great end-of-the-year deal. I'm Captain Ray.
COVID-19 has disrupted our lives, but it won't have the last word. We will. Across Alabama, thousands are getting vaccinated to protect themselves and others. Find out where you can get the COVID vaccine today at alabamaunites.com. Please get vaccinated. If you have symptoms, also get tested for COVID-19. Alabama Unites Against COVID. Sponsored by the ADPH, the ABA, and this station.
Hey, Ray Magliozzi here. I'd like to carry more parts at my shop, but I just don't have the room. Every time I go in the back to get wiper blades, I trip over a dusty crate of Honda air filters, then bang my head on some GTO radiator hoses. eBay Motors never has that problem. They stock all the right parts at the right prices. 122 million of them, with everything from new headlights to vintage gear shifters. I can't imagine being
more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at southmarkdesign.com.
Interact with the Martin Houston Show by calling us at 205-342-9904 or tuning into the Martin Houston Show on Facebook.
Well, obviously, I took this job, to work for the best football coach to ever coach the game, in my opinion, and so I learned something new every day. I've always been one, regardless where I was at, to be where my feet are, to do the best job where I'm at, to try to prepare our kids the best way, to develop them on and off the field. So I've always been one. I think if you do a really good job where you're at, which obviously a lot of people before me have, then opportunities will come. I promise you I'm in no rush to be a head coach. I think a lot of that's overrated. I got in this profession to develop players, to be in that room, to have fun with them. And I think sometimes, depending upon where you're at, you don't get that anymore. And so I made plenty enough money, more money than I ever thought I would coaching football. I can assure you that. So I'm in no rush. Obviously, when those opportunities come, you weigh them, as a family and see if it's the best for you and for them. But I enjoy where I'm at. I learn something new every day. We've got great kids to work with. The University of Alabama is awesome to be, our support system, our administration. So I love where I'm at.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. That's Pete Golding, Alabama's DC, saying, I'm not in any hurry. I'm not going anywhere. I made plenty of money. I made more money than I thought I would. I took this job to coach for the greatest coach in college football. Well, that hasn't changed. And also that he learns something new every day. We got Robert we're going to bring in, but I do want to circle back on that conversation because I think what you just heard there's a lot of reason Nick Saban sticks with Pete Golding because I think he thinks Pete Golding is going to stick with him. And so let's bring in Robert. Robert from Mobile, you're in with the Martin Houston Show with the X's and O's, Xavier Houston and Martin Houston. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a threat or a promise, but
Yeah.
But we'll take it as a good thing, I guess. Maybe not threatening.
I mean, of course it's a good thing because I mean you cannot dog Alabama's not in this national championship game without Pete Golding's defense.
Without a doubt.
Well, without the players on defense, but now I'm sounding like my man Curtis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, would Lane Kiffin have been great without? Would Alabama been there without Amari Cooper? Just because Lane Kiffin is able to take what's his name? Hey, Blake Sims did throw to one of the best all time. So, you can say that about just about every offense coordinator that's ever played here. Do you think Jeremy
Lane Kiffin had Amari Cooper. He had O.J. Howard, Derrick Henry. I mean, the list goes on.
And as creative as he was.
But Lane made those guys look as good as we expected them to be. Pete Golding seems, an oxygen George Lucas, the Star Wars director, is that he had great actors and got very full performances out of them. Not to their full potential. That was an oxygen George Lucas. Kind of where I feel like you got a lot of great performers here, but I don't see their full potential hitting the field all the time.
Will Anderson Jr.
Good, yeah.
Will Anderson Jr.
But I'm talking about everybody else.
No. We talked about Amari Cooper. You said Amari Cooper, and then we said O.J. Howard.
O.J. Howard. Henry. O.J. Howard did not get his full potential at Alabama.
No, he didn't. But my point is, Amari was 2014. 2015 was Derrick, and then OJ had his best year at Alabama in 2016. So none of those guys had they didn't have great years together. They had great years separately.
Yeah. I'm sorry, let me finish. Lane made the success gotcha, but his offense always had gotcha. I mean, they always look spectacular, and they scored a bunch of points. They look at that gotcha. I'm problem with Pete Golding is this defense don't pass the eye test a whole lot of times. I didn't even talk about Pete Golding, although that's still out. And I think any other defense coordinator could do similar or just as good, or better or just as good. But thing now with the SEC as a whole and these playoffs, these post games. But is great. The offense, if you're an Auburn fan, you got to be just what?
Well, yeah, the SEC is taking a beating, but does that mean anything?
Auburn, I think it does. Their bad looks like it can carry over into next year. Bad, as in, I don't know, it's no spark of anything. And then with Philly's not taking Auburn anyway. That's family Auburn right now. Auburn's not going anywhere to TJ Finley. They got to hit the transfer portal. They got to make a lot of improvements. I think this loss yesterday can carry over. Miss lost and Mississippi State lost, maybe not. That was embarrassing also. But the Auburn loss, hey, that looks really bad.
Well, I think the Auburn, but Auburn was 6-6. They had lost. Hey. They lost every game down the stretch, 5 in a row.
I gotta give you your props. I got to give you your props because we said on this. You said on here and told me when they were 6-2. That they could end up being a 4 or 5 loss team by the end of it, and they ended up a 7.
Yeah, because and what's scary for them, Robert, more so probably than what this season meant is how many players that opted out to play. Now that was not a full Auburn team and all of that, but the big thing for them is how many more players are going to opt out, and then what are they going to bring in? Because they didn't necessarily knock it out of the park with recruiting, and those guys would be young anyway. And then the other part of that is they have so much stuff going on off the field, transferring, etc. So it could snowball into a bad season next year.
Oh, they'll get another quarterback. They're going to get obliterated, especially by Alabama. That game's going to be ugly early, and other teams as well. Finley he doesn't have those Auburn fans were living yesterday with Finley. Hey, another thing real quick, the Georgia game and the Alabama course. But we're going back to Alabama for a second. Alabama, I'm not at all worried about this, man. I just don't see them with anything that can hang with Alabama for 4 quarters. It's going to be a nail biter down the stretch. And there's rat poison, I know, but I just don't see it.
Repeat that now.
I don't think that Cincinnati has anything that I'm afraid of that it will be a game in the 4th quarter that I'm worried. That's just my opinion. I just don't see it. I'm not a believer in Cincinnati. Yeah. Georgia, though, does still scare me. We're feeding Georgia a lot of rat poison. The media and their own fans and a lot of folks are feeding Georgia a lot of good rat poison. That if they could come out with their hair on fire, and JT Daniels was just a few bad passes away from that game being totally different. So I still think Georgia's a threat that can take it.
Georgia may not get past Michigan.
That's that right. There's a lot of rat poison.
I said they may not. I mean, it's the same. Michigan and Georgia are the same team.
Yeah.
They're the same team. They literally are the same team. And I think it's going to come down to Michigan has to stop the big tight end. And we'll see what they can do there. But if it comes down to a tight game, I may take Michigan and Gaddis being creative against that Georgia defense. Like I said, I talked about that yesterday, Robert. But why is it rat poison to say that Georgia may not beat Michigan?
Because I think that if Georgia feels disrespected to that level, I think their defense can take it up a notch to the point to where, like Alabama did, when they get disrespected to a high level, all right, now they're going to take it up a notch, and now they're going to lay you out. I think Georgia can also do the same thing. I don't think Michigan is capable of laying Georgia out the way Georgia can lay Michigan out if they feel disrespected to that level. I think right now, the level of disrespect is high with Georgia right now.
And what would you say when Georgia's defensive coordinator comes out and says that was just a hiccup and it was a fluke by Alabama? That Alabama fluked up and put 40+ points on them. I mean,
wait, he said that?
He said that game was a hiccup.
Well, that's how you better look at it. I guess if you want to win the rest of the season, you better not think that's a condition of your team can play, and your team ain't playing it better than that. You better think that's just an anomaly and not how Alabama can beat your team all the time.
Well, but
Alabama's proven to be able to beat Georgia like that consistently.
But here's my question to you: what has happened that would make you think that a rematch would end differently?
Because when I watch the game again, I'm saying, okay, man, if you like with Stetson Bennett, hey, if you just wait a second or two, you got a guy. If you look left instead of right or right instead of left, you got that guy. You threw to the wrong guy. You clean those plays up, dang, this game can turn out a lot different.
Well,
the offensive line, they play like they play everything, But on the offensive line, we don't know if they're going to do that all the time.
But what if Battle picks off that first pick 6.
I'm sure.
What? I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean, you probably, if you're like the typical person, you probably rewatched that game and you didn't look at what Alabama could have did better and got into the 50s, and because we could have got more, points than we got, because we weren't even trying to score in the 4th, and so you were probably watching about what Georgia could do differently, and you're gonna see that. Of course you can, but and then you watched it with, well, can our offensive line do that again? Well, why not?
Well, you know how the kids are with the disrespect card. They play that. I mean, Nick Saban hates it, and I do too. That you need a disrespect card to make you play like this all the time. Unfortunately, they do. And right now, the disrespect card is on Georgia's side.
Hold on. We gonna let you saying Georgia feels disrespected. We got some audio that we're gonna come back from break on, Robert. I want you to listen to, and you need to hear.
I heard it.
No. Undoubtedly you didn't, because if the captain, the nastiest guy on the team, who needs zero external motivation to be dominant, feels disrespected, you better believe he's feeding that yummy rat poison to the rest of the team.
Well, I think Alabama is I did hear it. I think that's more they're trying to manufacture disrespect, because I'm not here. Because last time with game 4, they didn't manufacture nothing. We were doubting them. All the media was doubting them. So there was all the Nick Saban had to do was just turn on the radio, and there it was.
Okay, hold on. Kirk Herbstreit believes since he matches up fairly well against the number 1, I think they're going to compete in this game. Herbstreit said, I don't see them getting blown out. I think they match up fairly well. It's tough to match up with Alabama as well, as all know, but he is saying that they match up. Then let me see. I mean, hold on. You said that. Let me see what other people are saying right here. The Alabama wideouts versus Cincy corners. Alabama will have a tough time going against the pair of AP All-American cornerbacks, Ahmad Gardner and Kobe Bryant, with the C. They've combined for 6 interceptions, 15 pass breakups, headlining the number 3 ranked defense nationally. Cincy is going to do a blackout. Let me see. Cincy's offensive line matchup. They were able to match up last year against Georgia. They dominated Georgia, took a 14-10 lead at half, 21-10, and the only reason they didn't finish it is they lost their left tackle. I'm just reading what they're saying. That's what the Alabama players are hearing. I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out, why do you feel what disrespect do you think that I hadn't heard disrespect for Georgia? And I'm not saying it's not out there. I just hadn't heard it. I hadn't heard it from either side. I think both are trying to manufacture it. If you want me to be honest with you.
Oh, I've been hearing it everywhere for Georgia, but including their own fans. And they said that's what gets the players the most, when your own fans start saying, we can't win. And all of them have been saying, docking, we can't beat Nick Saban. I don't talk about Cincinnati. I know we'll beat Cincinnati. I'm not worried about that game at all. I think that game. And they'll manufacture the disrespect, like they have to. Although I've heard plenty of analysts say, yeah, Alabama's going to win, Alabama's going to come. The vast majority. But when it was that Georgia game a few weeks ago, the vast majority was not still saying Alabama was going to win, and the fans weren't either. Not even the majority of the fans. I think that's what I'm hearing a lot with Georgia when it comes to Alabama. Now with Michigan, yeah, that's like you all said, that's even money, yeah. But I still think if Georgia pulls that out, man, I'm nervous.
I promise you, if Georgia wins, you will. If Georgia wins and the SEC keeps playing the way they've played in the bowl games, you will hear everybody talk about how hard it is for Alabama. For a team to beat a team twice. Georgia has the underdog because they're not gonna. Has the advantage because they're not gonna have to change anything. I think you will find out that if these two teams rematch up, I think you will see that the talking heads will be pro Georgia and not pro Alabama.
Without a doubt.
And I'm gonna let you listen to Will Anderson, and you can see if it's manufactured or not as we go to break. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate you, man. Hey, listen, man. Hey, listen. I love the debate in the convo. So bring it anytime, man. Thank you, sir. Hey, let's actually let's go ahead and get the break, Joe, and we'll just pray Will Anderson coming back on the other side, and then we'll get to our caller from Ohio up next.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we have an incident on McFarland eastbound between the interstate and Skyland is blocked in the right turn lane, so please use caution. Wet roadways, just slow down and be careful. If you see conditions, give us a call. As we approach a new year, now's the perfect time to visit your hometown dealer, Townsend Nissan, for a great end-of-the-year deal. I'm Captain Ray.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, Overflow Express Wash. Their mission is to provide great customer service with a showroom clean car and an exceptional customer service experience. They have the basic car wash that starts at $7, but you need to check out the premium wash packages, which start as low as $12 and go up to $20. They also have a membership wash club that you can get for starting at $23.99, going up to $39.99. In other words, just double the regular premium package, drop a penny, and you can be one of the great members of Overflow Express Wash. My family and I keep our cars looking good inside and out by using Overflow Express Wash. They're located on Skyland Boulevard right next door to Alabama 1, or you can find them online at overflowexpresswash.com. Andy Phillips and his team look forward to making you a part of their team.
Tuscaloosa Tire and Service, they've got the big brands you know and trust: Goodyear, Firestone, Bridgestone, Cooper, and they can finance for you as well. When you need routine maintenance and alignment, a tune-up, whatever it is, belts, hoses, just basic stuff, or when you don't know what's wrong with your car, truck, or SUV, make it Tuscaloosa Tire and Service. They're dependable, they're trustworthy. That's why they've lasted for over 36 years. Skyland Boulevard, McFarland Boulevard East.
Law enforcement and first responders working along Alabama's roadways.
We're making improvements and helping our connect.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit drivesafealabama.org, brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Nick Saban calls it the process. John Maxwell said that everything rises and falls on it. And Coach Wooden said it's what you learn after you think you know it all that makes the difference. What am I talking about? Leadership and personal development. Is your organization, your school, your church, your family, are they receiving the proper level of leadership development and personal development? If not, the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring can help you with that. We have our pep talks, which is a 1 to 1.5 hour lunch and learn, which we can customize to meet your needs, or we have some topics that we present that we know can help your organization. And if you're looking for one-on-one mentoring and coaching, we can also assist you with that. Visit peptalks35.com. That's peptalks35.com, or send an email to martin@martinhouston.org. That's the Empowerment Center for Leadership and Mentoring.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
To me, I still feel like we're the underdog in this game. I mean, all year we have been disrespected. I'm pretty sure we're still probably getting disrespected out there. But right now, we're not really worried about the external factors right now. We just have to worry about what's going on inside the facility and the practice field and all the meetings and stuff like that. And I think that's our biggest concern right now, making sure that we're ready, prepared for this game.
That's Will Anderson. And listen to what he says. He didn't say that they were being disrespected. He said he feels like they're. He said, but we have been disrespected all year. When I hear that, to me, we have been disrespected all year. So it wasn't just the Georgia game was a culmination of feeling disrespected. This team has said we have felt disrespected, and he said, and I'm sure that we're still disrespected. But then I love what he said. He said, but that's external. We're focusing on us and what's happening in the meeting rooms and what's happening in the boardrooms and what's happening on the practice field and what we can control. So in other words, we've been driven all year to prove everybody wrong, and we're not about to stop against Cincy, and we definitely won't stop if we get past Cincy and Georgia. So I know Robert said something about feeling some disrespect for Georgia. Whatever. Let's get to Gary up in Ohio. Gary, you're in with the Martin Houston Show and X's and O's at Xavier Houston.
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Doing good.
I know it's just a layman's observation, but I would say this. From what I've looked at, and I haven't read anything specifically, but it looks like to me that Georgia is going to have their hands full with Michigan. And I don't know if they're going to be able to beat them. I know that Michigan offensive line won the Joe Morgan award, but have you looked at how big Michigan offensive line is? It is massive. It is as big as ours was the year we won the Joe Morgan. That was a year ago. I mean, they go like 6'6" all the way across up to 6'8". I think almost on both sides. And then, but I think the disadvantage that Georgia is against Michigan, they don't have a pass rusher. They didn't have a pass rusher against us, and they certainly not going to have one against Michigan. And they're big enough to offset their size on the tackles and the center. And if they just run a little bit fast, it may not even be pretty.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it in Georgia. I know they got a couple good receivers, that tight end's really good and all that. But I think Georgia's going to have a hands full. Plus, when they interviewed the Georgia people, all the reporters were talking about Alabama. I mean, they were answering questions about Alabama when they're there to talk about Michigan.
Yeah.
So it just looked kind of goofy to me. So I say advantage Michigan. And I think the only problem, I think we're going to beat Cincinnati. Maybe we may spill over into the 50s, but I think we'll be like 48-17 or something. But if we get hot, you know how we get on a hot streak?
Yes.
We easily put that games in the 50s. And I think we'll beat Georgia again if we beat them, because again, they don't have a pass rush. And I love the fact that Joe Pinsky was there working on our offensive line, because I just think he's the best at what he does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And then, and I think playing Michigan, if we play Michigan, the only thing I would be concerned about, I know our left side is strong and our right side is a little weak on the offensive line, but Michigan has two really good defensive ends. So we may be able to block one, but can we block both?
And here's the thing. You don't have to block both when they play that style of defense. You go back and look. They have a lot of sacks, but they don't have a lot of tackles for loss, right? Sacks are about getting to the passer. Tackles for loss, which Will Anderson has 16 and a half sacks, I think, and 32 tackles for loss, which means he plays both the run and the pass. You let those defensive ends rush up the field because they got outside contained, and you hit them up inside on the run game. It also creates a nice pocket if your guys can help protect that, and I think that's what we saw against Georgia as well. So I think we'll be okay against Michigan, because you can literally use that to help your running game, and then you throw the pass slants right behind that outside rushing defensive end. So
now we got smart people, and you think your identity of one of them, Martin. You think like a football coach, and you're excellent. So I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and out there and say we're national champs back to back, and years after that.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Yeah.
Hey man,
you kids to be seniors. I mean, we're going to be a demon dog.
That's right. This team was supposed to be the really rebuilding year, so we fooled around and win this one. We might do some serious damage next year. So, thank-
we may set a record like 4 national championships that's ever been done.
yeah.
Doesn't it look quite pretty possible?
Well, if we get this one, then you start talking about getting Nick Saban getting into that place where he's never been with a three-peat. And then once you get the third one, it's always a possibility. So we need to take care of business. I think these two are as big a threat. Finishing down the stretch with this team is our big challenge. Hey Gary, man, thanks for keeping us in the loop up there in Ohio, and we appreciate you being a part of the show.
Hey, look, I have to carry the water up here.
I bet you do.
Okay, I'll keep my thoughts about it, but I know where to bet. They hate us because they ain't us.
That's right. Thanks, Gary. Roll Tide.
God bless.
God bless. All right.
I definitely feel that carrying the water.
Yeah. George from Macon, you're at the Martin Heath Show. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, Martin.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, just a few comments. Their prior caller was talking about if you look this way and you look that way. The score could have been different, but I like the way you answered it. The better team always is the one who looks the right way and one single play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember during the 3 mics, we would always be in the game till probably the third quarter, and then they'd break a long one, and we would lose.
Yeah.
And they had a better team. The better team not only has better talent, but is also well coached and well prepared. And they always make that one play that is significant and is a game changer.
That's the reason Tom Brady is considered the greatest of all time. He technically, if you're not a Patriot fan, he's the LOAT. He's the luckiest of all time. You go back and look at how many times he was literally his team was 1 or 2 plays from being put away by Seattle, by Atlanta. His first time when they called the timeout and they cleared the snow. But
after the fumble,
right after the fumble. But what happened, George? His team always made the play because they prepped, they prepared, and they were in position to make that play.
That is it right there. The better team, like you say, better prepared, better talent, better coach. They always make that play that is the game changer.
Yep.
Another thing is, you kind of stole my bleeding. You hit on the disrespect. Alabama has been disrespected all year long.
Right.
We barely beat Florida. We barely beat Arkansas. We barely do this. We barely do that. And that's what I think those guys are listening to. And I'm hoping they're listening to it because it's going to get them more fired up. And, you answered that question too, but I got a third comment I want to.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. David Palmer, I was listening to the Jay Barker show. I listened to all y'all, the whole lineup during the day while I'm working. And he was talking about what a fantastic athlete David Palmer was. And everybody used to always say how fast he was. And in my mind, he was more explosive and quick than fast.
He was.
And I think I read somewhere he ran like a 4.740. But because of his quickness, he can run laterally and cut as fast. He was at full speed at half a step.
Yeah.
And is my thought true?
Yes, he was not Jameson Williams or Mechie fast, but in a phone booth, you couldn't touch him. So if that explains what I'm talking about.
He was a slower Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, he could stop and cut on a dime. And what made him great and what probably made people look like made him look faster than everyone else, George, is some guys build up speed. David Palmer may have ran a 4.540 or whatever, 4.6, but he took off at 4.6. And that's the difference. Yeah. That's the difference is if you and I start off together and we're running 30 yards and you're faster in the last 10, but I'm faster in the first 20, who wins? I do. So you couldn't catch Palmer because when he got the ball, he was gone. He was full speed, but he could stop and start back at full speed and go sideways at full speed.
Yeah, he was 4'6", there was 4'6" to 4'7" laterally. One more quick question. Jay was talking about what a fantastic baseball player he was, and that he probably could have made it in the pros. Is that a true assessment?
Who? Palmer? Or
yeah?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Jay. I don't know. I never saw him play. But I never saw Palmer play baseball, so I wouldn't be able to speak on that. But I'm sure Jay and they were I think the same class, so they probably were in that recruiting world together. So if Jay said it, I'm sure it's true. We had several guys back in those days, George, that were that way, but they did not. You didn't get to do it back then. You had to choose one or the other. And hey, George, I'll leave you with this. To wrap up what you said earlier that Coach Stallings used to say for us, and I'll try to do it in Coach Stallings' voice. God almighty, man, it's going to be 3 or 4 plays, maybe 2 or 3 plays in this game is going to determine the outcome. And the team that makes those 2 or 3 plays going to win the game. The problem is you don't know when them 2 or 3 plays is going to happen, so play every play like it's that play. That's it. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's 2 or 3 plays in every game that turns a game, and then it may end up being a blowout, but you can always go back to 1, 2, or 3 plays that turn that close game into a blowout or that game into a win for one of those teams. And Coach Stallings told us we don't know when it's going to happen, so you have to play every one of them like that's the one. All right, thanks, George, man. We'll be back. We'll catch you.
Well, one more quick in the future, Martin. Maybe later on, you've only got like 9 more minutes of the show. I know that you were recruited by Bill Curry, and obviously you were there during Gene Stallings. Sometime I'd like to hear when you compare Bill Curry's style and coaching to Gene Stallings. I think that would be interesting.
I would love to do that. I've done that before, and I'll be glad to do that. Thanks, George.
Thank you. You have a great day.
All right. Hey, come back on the other side. We'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show. Hey, think about it. We got up north, Gary from Ohio keeping us in touch up there. What's going on in Michigan? And we got George from Macon, Georgia. So, hey, we're in the know. We're keeping an eye on all of those. We'll put the finishing touches on this edition of the Martin Houston Show.
100.9 traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center, we have a wreck on 69 at Rockwood Drive in Moundville, blocking the right shoulder, and an incident on McFarland eastbound before Skyline. If you see other conditions, give us a call. As we approach a new year, now's the perfect time to visit your hometown dealer, Townsend Nissan, for a great end-of-the-year deal. I'm Captain Ray.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. This could be an active weather day across West Alabama. The Storm Prediction Center has placed most of West Alabama from Demopolis northward under a slight risk of severe storms. There could be straight-line winds up to 60 miles per hour, a tornado or two, and hail. Stay tuned to Operation Storm Watch for continuing severe weather coverage today and again this weekend when there will be another threat. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's free. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Hello, this is Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show, and I want to tell you about Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. If you're looking for a way to add value to your home, make your flower beds pop, make your landscaping stand out from your neighbors, then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help you do just that. They have numerous styles, but they feature the Moroccan Stone Curve series, which includes 4 great styles and unlimited color choices. That's Tuscaloosa Custom Carving. They are the one that can help you stand out from your neighbors. Tuscaloosa Custom Carving, 205-331-6823. You may also find yourself with the need for a custom size stone or custom shaped stone. Then Tuscaloosa Custom Carving can help with that as well. Paul Fuller and his team are waiting on your call right now for that free quote. And if you tell them that Martin Houston with the Martin Houston Show told you to stop by, you'll get a big discount. So call Tuscaloosa Custom Carving at 205-331-6823 or visit them online at Tuscaloosa Custom Carving LLC.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Yes, Ms. Tubbs. No problem. I'll call someone about the plumbing.
One of Beatrice's properties needs a new superintendent.
The custodial team is not.
Someone with handyman superpowers and a concierge alter ego.
Does anyone know any good electricians near Parkville?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. I'm going to close out with a quick 1 minute spirit inspiration, but I want to give X a chance and you all a chance to recognize the passing of John Madden.
Yeah, John Madden passed away yesterday morning at the age of 85. And, you know, his impact on the game of football is one that has spanned generations at this point, from being a Hall of Fame coach to a Hall of Fame broadcaster to, of course, the mind behind the Madden football franchise that has inspired generations from you to me to
Braden.
Now you look at our nephew Braden, my nephew Braden, that's 3 generations of our family. And if you go back to even my grandfather's, from his time as a coach, his impact has spanned generations and will continue to impact generations. I watched a guy say, John Madden, the guys that you see in the NFL now are guys that grew up playing Madden, that wanted it and built a drive partially based off of his franchise.
Correct.
So just rest in peace to John Madden and prayers to his family during this tough time.
A legacy that lived, that was impactful while he lived, and that will live on beyond his death. Rest in peace. I want to encourage us on this last Christian moment of the week. Lamentations 3:22-24 says, the faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercy never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh or new each morning. I say to myself, the Lord is my inheritance. Therefore, I will hope in him. As we go off on this Christian moment of the week, I want to remind you that a new year is coming, and God gives us a new day every 24 hours, a new minute every 60 seconds, a new year every 365, a new month every 30 days. Hey, listen, he's all about new, and he'll make you a new creation if you'll just trust him. It's all about being made new. Hey, forget 2021. Look forward to 2022 as you think about what the plan God has for you. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. Roll Tide and have a blessed, prosperous, and successful new year right here from the Martin Houston Show with X's and O's and Tide 100.9. Roll Tide, guys.
Listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Have a great day, Joe.
Tide 100.9.